series of fruits and vegetable processing. Today in this lecture we will be studying about chemical composition of fruits and vegetables. So coming on to fruits. So what are fruits? Fruits are produced from flower and are the ripened ovaries of plant together with the adjacent tissues. See, you must have seen the structure of a flower. What happens? In the structure of the flower, you will find some portion like this, which is the ovary, and this upper portion is called the carpel. We will study about this also. And this is the ovary. Okay. So if we define fruit are produced from flowers. So this is a portion of flower, the center portion, and fruits are produced from this portion when this gets ripened. When the ovary gets ripened, along with the neighboring tissue, it will form a fruit. Okay. And fruits include both true and spurious fruits, or spurious or false fruits, as well as the seed of cultivated and wild perennial trees. Sometimes the seeds of wild and perennial trees are also consumed as fruits, as in case of walnut also, even you can say chestnut. So these are the seeds. Okay. So furthermore, coming to the definition of true fruit, a true fruit is derived solely from the carpel of the flower. Okay. So this is the carpel. So this together is the ovary. Okay. So it forms true fruit is derived from the carpel of the flower and it gets pollinated. Okay. So a false fruit comes with more than just the carpel of the flower. Example, apples. Okay. So example in case of true fruits are berry, lemon, watermelon. And in case of false fruit, it comes more than just the carpel of the flower. Okay, more than just this portion, even the adjacent portion of the flower it may include. Okay, so that forms the false fruit. The example of false fruit are apple, pears, and they consist largely of the receptacles. Receptacle means the lower portion of the flower. Okay, they largely consist of the receptacle and flower stalk also. The stalk means through which you hold the flower, usually the lower portion is the stalk. Okay, it will swell up to form the tissue around the seeds. The seeds will form the center portion and the receptacles, and the stalk will form it will swell up to form some tissue around those seeds, and these are further consumed as fruit. So coming on to the general composition of fruits, you see in the dry matter, if we see, so the dry matter contains most of the fruit except nuts. It varies between 10 to 20%. That is, the dry content or the dry matter of fruits except the dry fruits varies between 10 to 20% of the range. That is, if you dry 100 grams of fruit and you completely dehydrate it, remove the moisture, so you will be left with only 10 to 20 grams, something in between this range, except the nuts and dry fruits. Okay, so major constituents are sugar, polysaccharides, and organic acids. Okay, the major constituent of this dry matter is sugar, polysaccharides. So these sugars contain, we'll study about it later also, the sugar mainly contains glucose, sucrose, and other polysaccharides, and organic acids also. So the major constituent of the dry matter are these three, while the nitrogenous compound and lipids are in lesser amount. Yes, the fruits, most of the fruits, they lack in lipids. So nitrogenous compounds and lipids are to a very lesser extent compared to other constituents in fruit. Minor constituents include pigment, aroma substances of importance to organoleptic quality. Okay, some other minor constituents in fruits are pigment. There are various pigments, and then aroma substances, that is, which give the aroma to the fruit. When you consume fruit, you find some aroma, right? Sometimes even for identifying if the fruit is fully ripened or if it is of good quality or not. Sometimes you smell, as in case of mango, you smell the mango to see if you are getting a particular aroma or not. So these are aroma substances or aromatic substances, you can say, and pigments. They are very minor constituent in this dry matter, but are very important to the fruit as they form the as they give control the organoleptic properties of the fruit. Okay, and also vitamins and minerals of nutritional importance. So they constitute comparatively a very minor portion in the fruit composition. Further, if we see nitrogenous compounds, so nitrogenous compounds in fruit, again they are very, we can say less. It is around 1.1 to 1.5% nitrogen compound. That is what we never eat fruit to get protein, right? So protein we get from other substances. Fruits are generally taken for their micronutrients and other sugars. So the fruit contains very less nitrogenous compound, of which 35 to 75% is protein. Okay, the nitrogen content, that is, if you consider 100 grams of fruit, you will have only 0.1 to 1.5 grams of nitrogenous compounds. And of this 1.5 grams or 0.1 gram, this is the range. It lies in between this range. So of this 0.1 gram to 1.5 gram, 35 to 75% is protein. Now this protein is usually in form of enzymes. See, fruit contains various enzymes, right, which gives to the give rise to the browning of fruit and various other metabolic processes inside the fruit. So this 35 to 75% of this percentage nitrogenous compounds is protein, and major fraction of this protein is enzymes. The protein fraction varies widely with fruit variety and ripeness. This fraction is primarily enzymes. That is, as I told you, the major portion of this protein is enzymes, and the protein fraction will vary with the fruit variety and the ripeness, the stage of ripeness of fruit. Okay, so it varies as per the variety. Even the same fruit grown in different regions can have different composition, right? The protein percentage may vary in those fruits. Free amino acids are also widely distributed and on an average constitute 50% of the soluble nitrogenous content. That is, there are some free amino acids also present in the fruit, but they are present to a very lesser extent. That is, on an average 50% of the soluble nitrogen content. Now, total nitrogen content is only 0.1 to 1.5, and of that, the soluble nitrogen content is also very less. And of that soluble nitrogen content, the free amino acids form the 50%. Okay, a number of aliphatic and aromatic amines are also found in various fruits. Now, these aromatic amines and aliphatic amines, they also give rise to certain organoleptic characteristics. Coming on to next, sugars. In case of sugars, if we see, glucose and fructose occur in the major proportion. That is, the major sugar in case of this fruits is glucose and fructose, but they vary in ratio. Like they are present in varying ratio in different type of fruits, also with the level of ripeness. That is, when the fruit ripens, the sugar ratio of this glucose and fructose keep on changing. Sometimes this as the fruit ripens, the organic acids, they will also like break down and form sugars into simpler sugars, that is glucose and fructose. Now, sucrose is the dominant oligosaccharide present in food. Okay, so that's why we say like fruits are a major source of sucrose, sugar. Some fruits like cherry, grape and fig have no sucrose. Okay, these are some exceptions, but majorly in most of the fruit, sucrose is the main sugar present in the fruits. Now, D-sorbitol is the sugar alcohol that is most abundant in pome fruit and stone fruit, but these are absent in berries, citrus fruits, pineapple and banana. Okay, D-sorbitol, sugar alcohol. If you see, sugar alcohol is a type of sugar only, but with an alcohol group or with an OH group. So what happens is, these sugar alcohols, they have a considerable low glycemic index and they give little bit comparatively lesser calories. Okay, so these are most abundant in pome fruit and stone fruit, but these are absent in berries, citrus fruit, pineapple and banana. Okay, all fruits have cellulose, hemicellulose and pectin. Now this pectin fraction of fruit are especially affected by ripening. So they keep on changing. Also there are like different type of pectin also. the composition of pectin or pectinic substances keep on changing as the stage of ripening advances. Okay, so this will pectin fractions can vary. Starch is present mainly in unripe fruit, and generally its constituent content decreases to a negligible level as ripening proceeds, with an exception of bananas. See, starch doesn't have a taste of its own, right? So when the fruit is unripened, or it is very firm and all, so it has a lot of starch present in it. But as the ripening proceeds, so this starch, with the help of various enzymes present in the fruit, it is broken down, and this starch converts to your simpler sugars like glucose and fructose. Okay, so the starch content, it decreases to a negligible level as the fruit ripens. Now here on this side you can see there are 10 low sugar fruits present, and there is a sugar content also given per 100 gram of the fruit. Suppose avocado, if you take, it contains less than 1 gram per 100 gram of fruit, that is less than 1 gram of sugar per 100 gram of fruit. Similarly, there are some high sugar fruits given. See, dates, grape, pomegranate and mangoes, cherries. They all contain larger amount of sugar content, which is highest in dates, that is 66 grams of sugar per 100 gram of fruit. Okay. Next we come on to lipids. So we see lipids content of fruit is generally very low. See, we never associate fruits with lipids, right? We never associate fruits with fat content. So the lipid content of fruit is very low, that is about 0.1 to 0.5% of the total fruit composition, with the exception of nuts. We regard nuts also as fruits, but in certain nuts, as you can see, there are several nuts, okay, chestnut, walnut, but the lipid content in these nuts can be comparatively high. As you see in case of walnut also, the lipid is very high in that case. The fraction consists of triacyl glycerides, glyco and phospholipids, carotenoids, triterpenoids and waxes. Waxes are also present on the surface of the fruit, on the peel also. Okay, so the major fraction of lipids, or the major constituent of lipid that is present in fruit, is your triacyl glycerides, glyco and phospholipids, carotenoids, triterpenoids and waxes. Now, the presence of carotenoids is widespread in many fruits and is in a number of fruits which are citrus fruits, peaches. Their presence is main factor determining their color. Okay, so these carotenoids are also lipids, and they are the ones which are responsible for the color in fruits like citrus fruits, peaches. Okay, so these fruits. So we can say carotenoids are the main constituent responsible for their color. Coming to the next point, the presence of carotenoid also forms the basis of fruit classification. That is based on the carotenoid, what type of carotenoid is present. So we can classify the fruit in different type of categories. Okay, we'll study about this in later. The triterpenoid fraction contains bitter compounds which are limonoids and cucurbitaceans. So these are the ones which give a bitter or astringent taste sometimes to the fruit. Okay, the fruit peel is often coated with a waxy layer. So here the wax which I was mentioning, so the waxes are present on the peel of the fruit, which in fact serves as a protective layer for the fruit. Next is organic acids. So in case of organic acid, we can see here we have L-malic and citric acid are the major organic acid present in fruit. Apart from this L-malic and citric acid, there are certain other acids also, like tartaric acid, citric acid, we have already covered here. So there are certain other organic acids present in fruit, malic acid, tartaric acid, succinic acid, citric acid, oxalic acid, fumaric acid, malic acid. Okay, so there are certain organic acids which are present in different varieties of fruit. Like most abundant of them is L-malic acid and citric acid. So malic acid is predominant in pome and stone fruits, while citric acid is abundant in berries, citrus and tropical fruits. Okay. Now tartaric acid also occurs like in large number of fruits. Now tartaric acid is also present, but it occurs only in grapes. Next we see phenolic compounds. Under phenolic compounds occur in most fruits and most of them contribute to the color and taste. So if you see phenolic compounds, so there are many phenolic compounds present in fruits and they contribute, or the color or the taste of the fruit depends on this or are determined by the phenolic compound that is present. Now they can form complexes during processes and result in discoloration of fruit pulp. See, while dehydration and other food processing unit operations that are performed on fruits while processing of fruits, while when we are making value added product from the fruits. So during those processing, so these phenolic compounds which are responsible for the color of the fruit, they may form several complexes with other compounds and they may cause the discoloration. See, while dehydration also, when we dehydrate a fruit, so the color of the fruit degrades. So that is due to the formation of complex, the compound that is responsible for the color of the fruit. So that will form a complex with some other compounds and lead to discoloration of the fruit, okay, or the fruit pulp, you can say. So this coloring pigment are classified in chlorophyll. So this coloring pigment or the phenolic compounds which are responsible for the color are chlorophyll, carotenoids, anthocyanins, anthocyanins are referred to as flavonoids. Okay, out of these phenolic compounds, anthocyanins and anthocyanins are referred to as flavonoids. Okay, so these are the phenolic compounds. They are also responsible for several like therapeutic properties, also like antioxidant property. But they are mainly, in case of fruits, these are mainly responsible for the color and aromatic properties of the fruit. Next we see vitamins and minerals that are present in fruits. So many fruits are important source of vitamin C. Generally citrus fruits, as all of you must be knowing about citrus fruits, they are rich in vitamin C and they also help us boost our immunity. So many fruits are, or we can say particularly the citrus fruits, berries, they are rich in vitamin C. Now pantothenic acid and biotin are present in some fruits which are citrus fruits, fig, blackcurrant. Vitamin B12, vitamin D and tocopherols are found in trace amounts. Okay, so major vitamins that are present in fruits are vitamin C, pantothenic acid, biotin, B12 and vitamin D and tocopherol are present in trace amounts. Now coming on to the minerals, the most important mineral cation found in fruit is potassium ion. Okay, so potassium is the major mineral that is found in fruits, which is organic. And if you see the organic anion that is present is phosphate or phosphorus cation or ion that is present in fruit. So if you see the majority of the minerals are, or majority of the mineral present in fruit are potassium, sodium and phosphorus ion. Next we see the classification of fruits. So in case of fruits, we classify fruit as berries. We have already dealt with classification of fruits and vegetables in our first lecture, but here we will see about them in little bit detail. So classification of fruits. Fruits are classified as berries. So these are strawberry, gooseberry. These are the examples: blackberries, raspberry. Okay. So these are all the example of berries. So one category is berries. Second we see citrus fruits. Okay, citrus fruits most famous example is oranges, lemon. These all come under citrus fruits. But apart from that, sweet lime, orange, tangerine, sour oranges, lime, lemon, grapes, grapefruit also come under citrus fruit. Then drupes. So this is the third category. Drupes are example of drupe fruit is apricot, sweet cherry, peach and plums. Then we have grapes. Okay, so green grape, black grape. These are all examples of grape. Grape, as we have already mentioned here, grape is a type of fruit which is also categorized under citrus fruit. Then we have a separate category also of grapes. Now, green grapes, black grapes, seedless grapes. So these are all type of grapes which are present in market and are categorized under the category of grapes. Then we have melons. Under melon we have watermelon, muskmelon. These are the most popular example. Then we have pomes. We have under pomes we have apple and pear. Then seventh and the last category is tropical and subtropical fruits. Under tropical and subtropical fruits, we have gooseberry, avocado, banana, dates. There are numerous examples of tropical and subtropical fruits here. So these are the seven categories of. So these are the seven categories or types of fruit that is present. And here are some examples. Okay. Next, after this we will move on to the vegetables. So, what are vegetables? Vegetables, they are defined as the fresh part of plant which is either raw, cooked, canned or processed in some way provide suitable human nutrition. That is, fruits can be any part of the plant. It need not necessarily be from the flower of the plant. It can either be the stem, the roots, tubers or even leaves. It can be any part of the plant which is consumed for human nutrition either in raw. It can be either consumed raw, cooked or canned. In several types it can be processed and we can consume it and serves as a form of human nutrition. All those parts can be regarded as vegetables. Now, fruits of perennial trees are not considered to be vegetables. So we have fruits, then we have vegetable. Under vegetable we have said that these are part of the plant. Now this part of the plant also includes the flower. But in case of perennial, the fruits of perennial trees, these are not considered to be vegetable. Okay. Now under composition of vegetables, we will see here dry matter. So the dry matter of vegetables, the amount of dry matter in most vegetable is between 10 to 20%. So which is comparatively less if you see fruits. Okay. So some tubers and seed vegetables have higher starch content and so constitute a higher amount of dry matter in that fruit. So these tubers and seed vegetables, some seeds of plants are also consumed as vegetables. So these seeds and tubers, they have a higher amount of starch content and so they constitute a higher amount of dry matter. So coming on to next, that is a nitrogenous compound. We see here vegetables, they contain 1 to 3% nitrogenous compounds, of which 35 to 80% is protein and the rest is amino acids, that is free amino acids, peptides and other compounds. So in case of fruit, it was also in this range 35 to 70%. Okay, in this case it is up to 80% is protein. The rest can be said to be free amino acids, peptides and other nitrogenous compounds. So the the protein fraction consists to a greater extent of enzymes. So the major portion of this protein fraction, that is 35 to 80% of 1 to 3% of nitrogenous component of the vegetable is protein fraction. And now the protein fraction, major component of this protein fraction is your enzymes. So which may have either beneficial or detrimental effect on processing. That is, when we process those vegetables, the enzymes present in it, they can serve for the beneficial effect also. They can also serve some detrimental effect, maybe on the basis of color or firmness of the vegetable or some other characteristics. They can have a beneficial or detrimental effect. Now they can contribute, or they may contribute to typical flavor or to the formation of undesirable flavors, tissue softening and discoloration. As I discussed, these enzymes, they can lead to some typical flavor of the vegetable or formation of some undesirable flavors when we process it or when we cook it. So, or may lead to tissue softening Okay, when we keep some vegetable for a longer time at room temperature, the outermost cover, or you can say the whole vegetable, becomes little soft. So that is due to these enzymes, or these enzymes, they degrade the firmness of the tissue of the fruit, and which leads to the softening of the vegetables. Okay, they may also lead to discoloration. Now, enzymes of all the main groups are present in vegetables. So, if we consider enzymes, so most of the enzymes are, or enzymes that are present in vegetable, they can represent all the type of enzymes that are there. Okay, all types of enzymes are present here. Next, we see the sugars. Sugars in vegetable. So, carbohydrate content in vegetable range between 3 to 20%. Okay. The predominant sugar in vegetable are glucose, fructose, and sucrose. See, in the case of fruit, the major sugar was here fructose. But in this case, we have all three types of sugar present in vegetables. Starch occurs widely as storage carbohydrate and is present in large amounts in some roots and tuber vegetable. That is, starch is present in all the vegetables, right? It serves as a storage carbohydrate for the plant. Vegetables are part of the plant, right? So, in case of plant, starch serves as a storage carbohydrate to provide energy in times of distress. Okay, and in case of some roots or tuber vegetables, the content or the composition of starch is comparatively larger compared to other vegetables. Now, other polysaccharides, which are cellulose, hemicellulose, and pectin, are also present there. Okay, pectin is what gives its like contributes to the firmness of the vegetable. Okay, the pectin fraction has a distinct role in the tissue firmness of the vegetable. Okay, if the pectin fraction is more, the vegetable will be more firm. If it degrades or the pectin structure degrades, the tissue or the tissue of the vegetable or the vegetable itself will become comparatively soft. Next we come on to the lipids. So in case of lipid, the lipid content of vegetable is generally low, that is 0.1 to 0.9% in case of vegetables. Okay. In addition to triacyl glycerides or glycerol, we have glycolipids and phospholipids that are present in your vegetables. Okay, so almost similar composition of lipids as compared to fruits. Like in fruits also we had TAGs, glyco and phospholipids. Then we had some other type of lipids also present in fruit. Okay, so almost the composition, if we see, of lipids is similar in case of fruits and vegetables. Okay. Now, carotenoids are occasionally found in large amount. Okay, carotenoids are of what gives the pigment to the vegetable or the color to the vegetable. So they are found in a larger amount in case of vegetables. Now again we see the organic acids that are present in vegetables. So the organic acids that are present here is highest amount in vegetables are malic acid and citric acid. That is, the organic acid that are present in vegetable mainly are malic acid and citric acid. Okay, the content of free titratable acid present in vegetables is 0.2 to 0.4 grams per 100 gram of fresh tissue. That is, if we see the titratable acidity of vegetables, we will see the free titratable acids present in vegetables are 0.2 to 0.4%, or we can say either percent, or generally the titratable acidity is in gram per 100 gram of fresh tissue or the 100 gram of vegetable. So we see the titratable acidity is 0.2 to 0.4 gram per 100 gram of fresh tissue. Now, if we see the pH of vegetable will range between 5.5 to 6.5, that is slightly towards the acidic side. Okay. Now, 7 is your neutral pH. If you go above 7 to 14, so that will be alkaline, or you can say basic. And below 7 will be your acidic up to 0 pH. So if we see this range, so our vegetables fall slightly in the acidic range. Next we see vitamins and minerals present in vegetable. So vitamins are or the flavoring compounds. So this is together as a category. Vitamins or flavoring compounds and dietary fibers. They are the secondary constituent of vegetables. See dietary fiber in vegetable. These are the secondary constituent. Plant pigment other than carotenoids and anthocyanins are like also present here. So which are chlorophyll. Betalains are great importance in vegetables. The carotenoids usually categorize under carotenoids we generally categorize under lipids. So apart from that, the pigments that are chlorophyll and these, they are also very important to the vegetables here, or form the important constituents of vegetable. Next we see mineral content of vegetables is 1% potassium. If you see the potassium ion or the organic ion that is present, that is in up to 1% it is present in the vegetables, is the most abundant constituent. So potassium is the mineral which is most abundantly found in vegetables, followed by calcium, sodium and magnesium. So these are the major or the most abundant minerals that are found in vegetables. Now other major anionic minerals are phosphates, chlorides and carbonates. Okay, so these are the anionic minerals that are present in your vegetables. Next we see classification of vegetables. So under classification of vegetables, see vegetables are classified according to since they are the part of the plant. We consume different part of the plant as vegetables. So based on the part which we are consuming, the vegetables are classified as follows. So we see here one category is roots. Okay, so under roots we have carrot, beetroot, that is roots which are consumed as a vegetable. We have carrot, beetroot, radish, turnip and colocasia. So we have this as roots. Under tubers we have potatoes and sweet potatoes, tapioca. Then we have bulb. Under bulb category or bulb type of vegetable we have onion, garlic, leeks. Then we also consume leaves of several plants as vegetables. For example, cabbage, spinach, lettuce, amaranth, fenugreek leaves, coriander leaves, mint leaves, and various green leafy vegetables we consume. Those form under the category of leaf. Okay, leaves. Then we have flowers. Under flowers, we also consume certain flowers as vegetables, which are plantain flower, cauliflower, broccoli. See, cauliflower and broccoli, these are broccoli is also rich in protein, and we also consume cauliflower. These are the flowers or the under the part of the plant we have this as a flower which you consume as vegetable. Then we have fruits like tomatoes. See, fruits. Although these are fruits, but they are consumed. Technically, if we see this tomato, brinjal, ladyfinger, pumpkin, cucumber, gourds, various gourds like saint gourd, ash gourd, bottle gourd, capsicum, drumstick, and plantain. If we see as per the their botanical division, so for botanical classification, they are the fruits or the ripened flowers, but we consume them as vegetables. Then we have legumes. These are pods and seeds. So we have under legumes peas, beans, coli, broad beans, French beans, double beans, Bengal gram, tender, red gram, tender. So we have a lot of legumes which you consume as your vegetable. Okay. Then if we consider stem, so under stem we have ginger, amaranth stem, plantain stem, celery stem, lotus stem, and greens. So these are the stems of various plants which can be consumed as a vegetable. So these are the stems and these are the examples. Next we see the chemical composition overall of various fruits and vegetables. So we have under vegetables we have here carrots. So you can just go through this. Carrots, the carbohydrate is 9.1%. Then we have 1.1% protein, fat is very less, that is 0.2. We have ash, that is ash is responsible for all the minerals that are present. So that is 1%. Water is 88.6%. So if we see the moisture content in fruits and vegetables, it ranges between almost between 80 to 99, or sometimes it can reach to 99% also. Okay, usually it is ranging. So as we see the water content or the moisture content, it ranges between 80 to 95%. So as you can see here, in case of peas, we have 75% moisture content. These are the extremes I am showing you. And in case of radish, we have 93.7%. If we see for tomato, so in case of tomato, the moisture content is even higher than 95%. So this is the chemical composition of various vegetables and fruits as an example. If we see orange here, so we have carbohydrate 11.3%, protein 0.9%, fat 0.2%, ash 0.5%. So we can see here the maximum amount of carbohydrate is present in your banana in case of fruits, and lowest is in strawberries. Also there are certain other fruits also which contain even lesser amount of carbohydrates. In case of vegetables, in this figure as you can see, the least amount of carbohydrate is present in lettuce. Okay, so just for example, these are just for the reference purpose. So that was all in this lecture about chemical composition of fruits and vegetables. I hope you enjoyed the lecture. We will again meet again in your next lecture. Thank you.